Hello everyone, today we'll talk about the problem minimum remove to make valid parentheses. In this problem we're given a definition of a valid parentheses string. This is a standard definition, and I think this is the third LeetCode daily in a row that concerns itself with parentheses strings. So either pause the video and read that definition, or just use the definition you know from previous problems. And in this case we're given a string consisting of letters as well as opening and closing parentheses. And we have to remove some, perhaps none, of those parentheses, such that the remaining ones are a valid string. Okay, so whenever you see a parentheses problem, you should think about a stack, because that's the typical way of thinking about matching parentheses. So if you are trying to see, well, for example, if a string is correct, then you just keep in mind the opening parentheses you see. So here you have one, then you have another one. In this case, you have a closing one, so you can forget this one because it's matched up. Another closing one matches up with this one. And then you have a closing one, so this is an incorrect parenthesis string. So that should already give you an idea how to remove some of those that would create a bad string. Because whenever we have this closing parenthesis that doesn't match up with any open one before, we just have to skip it and not include it in the final answer. And this is, as an example one, this is exactly what you have to do with the last one. Or perhaps any one before, but yeah, we can also do it with the last one. And then the only thing that remains to be done is that if at the end we have some opening parentheses left, and we cannot pair them up with any closing ones because we've run out of characters in our string, such as in this example, those ones we have to exclude because they do not have an opening parentheses. And those two cannot be closed, so they also have to be excluded from the answer. So the idea is quite simple. Let's see the implementation. In this case, what we're going to do is to maintain a standard counter of currently open parentheses. And in order to quickly decide whether or not we have to include this parenthesis we see or not, we'll also at first count all the closing parentheses in the whole string, and then during the progress of the algorithm we'll decrease that number whenever we see a closing parenthesis, and that will allow us to decide if all our current open parentheses can be closed at some point. So this number cannot be greater than this number, and if it would become greater, then of course we can just not include that opening parenthesis in the answer. So we go through all the characters in our string. If that character is not either an open or a closed parenthesis, we just append it to the result. And now when we see a closing parenthesis, let's say, then we just look at our count of current open parentheses. If it's not 0, then you can of course take this one, add it to the answer, and you have to decrease both of those values. And if we see an open parenthesis, we increase the count of open parentheses, but only if it's less than the closing count. And in that case, if it is, then we can already append it to the result. And if this if statement is false, then that means that if we were to include that opening parenthesis in our result, we wouldn't be able to close it later, so we shouldn't do so. And in that case, we just have a quick pass to count closing parentheses, another pass to write all the characters to our answer, and of course at the end we have to convert it to a string and return it.